is a very different kind of Kia Sorento. It can run most of its suburban life on electric power, manage a 3-figure fuel return, and deliver a CO2 reading that'll decimate the size of your company car taxation bill. Yet, it'll seat 7 people, take you to a mountainside weekend country cottage and cruise in luxury. There's a price to pay for all this capability, of course, but it's undeniably impressive.
We're told that electric cars are the future, but family customers have to live in the here and now. And in the here and now, it's quite simply very difficult to justify an EV that gives you range anxiety over anything but short to medium distances. It's also extremely difficult to find an EV with 7 seats. A far more sensible solution, which will still probably see you driving largely on full electrification, is this car, the Kia Sorento PHEV. There are a number of mid-sized to large family-shaped plug-in hybrid SUVs on the market, so why this one? Well, a number of the PHEVs in this segment can't be had with 7 seats. That's a failing this Kia avoids, and most of them are more expensive too, including this car's mechanically identical cousin, the Hyundai Santa Fe PHEV. Not that this Kia is exactly cheap. You could easily find yourself paying £50,000 or more for a well-specified one. And you probably never imagined yourself paying that much for a Kia Sorento. But could you justify a spend like that on this one? Let's find out. On the move, this PHEV plug-in model's 90 horsepower electric motor does a reasonable job of powering the car in battery motion mode, and when the 13.8 kilowatt hour battery pack runs out after about 35 miles and the 1.6 litre TGDI turbo engine cuts in, the combined power output, 261 brake horsepower, is more than enough for most safe overtakes or for pressing on when you're late for the school pickup. 62 miles an hour occupies 8.4 seconds en route to 119 mph. You certainly wouldn't want to go any faster than that in a car like this. You might wish for a bit more pulling power through the 6 speeds of the drivetrain's automatic gearbox though. There's only 350 newton meters of it, which isn't a great deal to propel along a 2.1 ton 7-seat family SUV. That is why towing capacity is limited to 1,500 kilos. This car still retains a reasonable degree of off-piste capability though. Its standard 4-wheel drive system incorporates 3 bespoke terrain drive modes, which you can select from this center console dial: snow, mud and sand. But there's not really enough ride height to venture anywhere too gnarly with this Kia, so the terrain side of the drive mode dial will probably remain largely unused. More everyday useful settings come when you push the same dial and it clicks you into the 3 separate tarmac drive modes, which alter steering feel, throttle response and gear change timings. Most of the time you'll want to leave this car in the smart setting, which is basically an auto mode that sorts everything out for you. There's also an eco mode and a sport setting for when you want to push on, although you won't want to do that terribly often in this kind of high-sided SUV. Previous generations of the Sorento have been a little anonymous and forgettable, but this 4th generation design is out to rectify that. There are no outward giveaways as to this model's plug-in status, unless you happen to notice the badging or the extra filler flap. In profile, you get a sense of the continuing growth that's characterised the Sorento model line throughout its various generations. This Mark IV design is 5mm taller and it gains another 10mm of length, taking the parking space size you'll need to well over 4.8 metres, which, to give you some class perspective, actually puts it closer to a full-fat, large-segment Land Rover Discovery rather than the mid-sized Discovery Sport model that it's been priced against. Perhaps most distinctive though is the tailgate treatment, borrowed from Kia's even larger US market Telluride SUV, a model the UK doesn't see. Perhaps that explains a touch of Ford Mustang in the styling of these LED tail lamps. The cabin quality on show here is certainly a big step forward from anything we've ever seen from Kia before. You still probably wouldn't think you were in a premium brand model, but the dashboard's shelf-like design has some interesting flourishes, like the unusual shaping of these central vents here. And we think that most customers will really like the way that the high-set driving position offers you such a commanding view of the road ahead of you. Get comfortable behind the leather-stitched three-spoke wheel here, and one of the first things that you're going to notice is that the instrument binnacle, this now features a single 12.3-inch screen with 2 virtual dials and the customizable information section in the middle. Anything this display can't tell you will probably be covered off instead by the infotainment monitor, and that flows out of the instrument binnacle to top this center stack here. This would be 8 inches in size with base 2-spec trim as here, but with the 2 more opulent trim levels, you're favoured instead with a preferable 10.25-inch touchscreen display. You also get supportive seats and the wide range of cabin stowage cubbies that you'd want in a family SUV. Right, time to take a seat in the second row, space in which ought to be aided by this 4th generation model's 35mm increase in wheelbase length. As usual in a 7-seat SUV, the bench slides back and forth and the backrest reclines, and that allows second row folk to prioritise either their legroom or that of those behind. Right, time to take a look in the third row. That relatively high floor height means that, as with most cars in this class, you sit rather with your knees up towards the level of your stomach, but otherwise it really is reasonably comfortable back here by class standards anyway, although adults won't want to be confined here for too long, obviously. Right, let's finish with a look in the boot. It's only electrically powered if you avoid the base 2 level of trim we have here. The hatch opens to a wide, square-shaped load bay with a nice flat entry floor. It's not massively spacious, of course, with the third seating row up like this, but the 179-litre capacity provided in this format is enough for a couple of carry-on suitcases, and it embarrasses the 115-litre space that you'd have with a similarly configured Land Rover Discovery Sport. Get a couple of tie-downs and bag hooks, but there's not much space beneath the floor here, which is annoying with this PHEV because there's nowhere to store the charging leads. Much of the time you're going to want to tug on the pull straps on the backs of these third row chairs and fold them into the floor. That frees up 604 litres of space in this PHEV model. If you need more room, the second row seating can be folded from the boot area by these right-hand cargo sidewall buttons, although reinstating those chairs has to be done manually from the side doors in the usual way. Anyway, once everything's nice and flat, you get up to 1,988 litres of space with this plug-in hybrid. At the time of this test in summer 2021, pricing for this 261 bhp Sorento PHEV started from just over £45,000. That's for the base 2-spec model we're trying here. Mid-range 3-spec cost just over £49,000 and top 4 trim at around £53,500. Now those prices represent a premium of nearly £6,000 over a self-charging 226 bhp HEV hybrid version of this model, which is a lot, but it's not as much as some rivals are charging. A Land Rover Discovery PHEV costs around £5,000 more. PHEV versions of other rivals look cheaper, but they're usually smaller, they're less powerful, and they often lack 7 seats. If, having considered that, you conclude that it is a Sorento that takes your interest, then you're going to need to know just how generous Kia has been with the standard spec. So let's see. As well as the features that we've already mentioned, 4-wheel drive, 7 seats and automatic transmission, all models include 19-inch wheels, LED headlights, roof rails, rain-sensing front wipers, electrically folding exterior mirrors, a smart cruise control with stop-and-go functionality, and Kia's Terrain Mode Select driving mode system, plus a wide range of camera safety features that we'll brief you on in a moment. Standard cabin items include a 12.3-inch digital instrumentation cluster screen, heat for the front seats and for the steering wheel, and dual zone climate control with air conditioning for the third row seats, plus there's an auto dimming rear view mirror too, and also a reversing camera to assist the all-round parking sensors. Features specific to the base 2 grade of trim include Kia's smaller 8-inch central infotainment touchscreen, which lacks navigation but does incorporate Apple CarPlay and Android Auto smartphone mirroring, along with a 6-speaker DAB audio system. You're probably, though, going to want to start your Sorento search with mid-range 3-spec trim. Indeed, as I mentioned earlier, if you want the diesel engine, that's what you're going to have. A Sorento 3 offers you a few more of the niceties that you'd ideally want at this kind of price point. Things like black leather upholstery, 8-way electrically adjustable front seats, heating for the outer 2 seats in the second row there, a wireless phone charger, a glossy black centre console, metal door scuff plates and a power-operated tailgate. At this level in the range too, you also get Kia's larger 10.25-inch centre touchscreen. That is now complete with satellite navigation and Kia's Uvo Connect app system. Now this allows remote connection to the car, and that's so you can send route instructions to the sat-nav system, you can lock or unlock the car, and you can tailor your own driver settings, all from the convenience of your laptop or your smartphone. 3-spec also gives you rear self-leveling suspension and also Kia's semi-autonomous drive system. That's highway driving assist, which I'm going to brief you on in a moment. Top 4-spec will bring even more luxuries with softer Napa leather upholstery, more power adjustment for the driver's seat, along with a memory function and cooled ventilation. Plus you get some extra camera safety features, plus metal pedals, a panoramic glass sunroof with an electric roller blind, and a Bose premium sound system with 12 speakers. Onto safety. As you'd expect, there's a decent package of camera safety kit, starting with the usual autonomous braking system. Kia's is called Forward Collision Avoidance Assist, a setup that detects pedestrians, cyclists and other vehicles in close proximity, and also oncoming traffic when you're making a turn at a junction. There's also lane keeping assist, which applies subtle steering lock if you drift out of lane. High beam assist headlights, which automatically dip themselves at night. And the clever lane following assist setup. Now this works with the smart cruise control system, and it takes over driving duties from you in heavy traffic. It controls the acceleration and the braking and also the steering, and that depends on the movements of the vehicles in front of you. So in a queue, when the vehicles in front of you move off, so will you. There's also intelligent speed limit assist, which uses a camera to read speed limit signs along the road and displays them beside the speedometer and on the navigation screen. You can then decide to set your speed to the road speed limit or to override it. If you want a bit more autonomous driving tech, mid-range 3-spec includes Kia's highway driving assist system, which maintains the speed set by the driver or the speed limit of the motorway. Top spec 4 trim adds 3 further features. There's a blind spot view monitor, which stops you from dangerously pulling out in front of oncoming vehicles. You get a parking collision avoidance assist system, which at low speeds uses the rear view camera and parking sensors to detect obstacles that you might not have seen. For example, a pedestrian walking behind you or a low wall, and it automatically applies the brakes to avoid an impact if you're not responding to the warnings. And there is also rear cross traffic collision avoidance assist, which alerts you to oncoming vehicles when you're reversing out of a space. It's all very reassuring. If you're comparing this PHEV Sorento with its HEV self-charging hybrid showroom stablemate, then you'll find that this plug-in variant's provision of a larger 90 brake horsepower electric motor powered by a considerably larger 13.8 kilowatt-hour battery makes all the difference. It facilitates the usual PHEV 3-figure combined economy reading, in this case 176.6 mpg, and an enviro-conscious CO2 figure of just 38 grams per kilometre. In turn, that makes possible a super low benefit in kind taxation rating of just 11%. With an HEV, it'd be either 35 or 37%, depending on trim. Pretty much the same, actually, as a Sorento CRDI diesel. For a Sorento PHEV owner, there'll be no VED road tax to pay in year 1. With the HEV, it's $545 and it's $895 with the equivalent diesel. Depreciation levels are class competitive too. After 3 years and 60,000 miles, industry experts reckon a Sorento PHEV with base 2 trim will still be worth £18,200. A big draw with any new Kia is the comprehensive warranty package which comes with it. Sure enough, here you get a transferable 7-year, 100,000 mile warranty package which shows the faith and confidence the company has in its products. There's also a 12-year anti-perforation and a 5-year paint warranty to even further cement the longevity of this car. Servicing is every 10,000 miles and insurance is rated at Group 32 for 2 trim, 33 for 3 trim and 34 for a top spec 4 car. Let's finish with charging time figures. From a 3-pin 2.2 kilowatt supply, charging a Sorento PHEV from empty to 100% would take 5 hours and 2 minutes. Use a 3.3 kilowatt AC supply and that time drops to 3 hours and 25 minutes. There's no doubt that this Sorento PHEV is a great all-rounder. It can be an MPV, a luxury cruiser, a light off-roader or an urban family EV. The drawback, of course, is the sticker price, but the right kind of finance deal might ease that issue a little for you. Before you commit to it though, you'll have to have been convinced that the plug-in engine is the right kind of power source for you. If you know you'll find it awkward to regularly plug in, or if you just can't be bothered to, then the much cheaper HEV self-charging hybrid version is a better bet. Or you could also save money up front by choosing the conventional diesel variant. The plug-in model is also a poor choice if you'll regularly be towing heavy loads. If none of this has discouraged you from the prospect of Sorento PHEV ownership, then there's much to like here. Pretty much everything, in fact, that you could want from an all-purpose family car, except a premium badge. And a typical Sorento customer won't worry too much about that. Kia talks about the power to surprise with its products. And this one might just do that.